what we're actually seeing right now is two worlds colliding. And what I mean by that is, when I look around the room, there's a reasonable number of people that I think would be a bit like me and would feel like we're part of the analog world. And an analog world is where we're really used to physical things. We're used to objects, we're used to making things, we design and deliver products and services, we own assets in a particular way. There's something good about owning a property, about owning a car, about owning your own white goods at home. When we think about technology, we think that there is almost inevitably a solution there, but it's one of the potential solutions. And there may be solutions out there that don't involve technology. People in a digitized world have a really different mindset. They already know that the value is not in the product and service, it's in the data. It's in the information that's collected, how it's used, how it's monetized. People with a digital mindset have grown up with computers at home. Social media isn't something they have to kind of remember to do because that's where their friends are. They're always there. That's where they recommend things to their friends. It's where they interact. It's where they market. It's where they sell. It's where their life is. And people that are of a digital mindset create really different businesses. People that are of an analog mindset create stores full of products that they expect people to go to. People of a digital mindset put all their products and services online and allow you to see where your cab is after you've called it from your mobile phone. So there's a really different mindset and it creates really different businesses and business models. A lot of that then starts to stack up and say, well, that really challenges our societal systems. It really starts to challenge how we think about health. And one of the reasons of that, of course, is because of the aging nature of the population. We've already spoken briefly about education. How do we make sure that we have people fit for a digitized future, given that our school and education system is basically fit for creating 19th century factory workers? How, if we think about the impact of automation, do we consider innovative ideas, either permanently or for a temporary period, about universal basic income, universal basic services? Does transport become a universal basic service in order to move people around to help them get jobs? How do governments create new services and innovate in the services that they provide? So there are lots of really interesting societal system redesign jobs that someone's going to have to do because of these changes that have been outlining. So when we think about social and demographic shifts, yeah, we understand that the population is getting older, but there are human enhancement technologies coming along that might allow us to live until we're 120 as a norm, maybe 150. Scientists are beginning to think they've identified the gene that makes us grow old. What if they can turn that off? So all of a sudden, the demographics that we've seen up to now could become really challenging in the future. It's already pretty challenging, given that it's not implausible for us to see 6 generations at work at the same time. And if we think about lots of marketing studies that also talk about how it's important that we connect with millennials and Gen Zs because they have very different needs, they have very different perspectives, that's great. But actually, they buy things, they recommend things to their friends in a really different way. And they've probably not got as much disposable income as baby boomers. So you forget the baby boomers at your peril, because actually that's where a lot of the wealth still resides. So we need to be careful that if we're aiming our products and services at one part of the population, that we know what we're doing, that we understand that we're doing, and that by doing that, we're potentially missing a large chunk of the population. There are, of course, other issues that we see around the world around the way that family structures are changing, the way that migration is changing, and notwithstanding the undercurrent for Brexit and what's going on at the US with Trump at the moment, migration continues to be, and will always continue to be, I think, a critical component of societies across the world. So migration, gender, diversity and inclusion. These are all the kind of things that also play into those 16 United Nations Sustainability Development Goals. So they're all going to become really critically important to our businesses going forward. one of the other social shifts that we're already seeing and will continue to see is this move to increasing urbanization. And the speculation, the projections are that maybe almost 5 billion people by 2030 will live in urban centers, almost 3/4 of the population by 2050. Now, I don't know about you guys, but it can be a bit problematic getting around London at the moment. If anyone's ever been to Mumbai, then you realize London is actually easy to get round at the moment, but Mumbai is more fun. But the issue here is, what do we do with the infrastructure? What is the infrastructure investment we need to ensure that our cities function, not now, not 10 years, but 20, 30 years into the future? Because we want to ensure that we're fully connected, we want to ensure that we're fully mobile, and part of that mobility is going to involve not rushing around in cars, probably not owning cars. Peak car ownership is expected to be around 2034. At which point the link between some kind of self-esteem and the ownership of a vehicle starts to disappear. So car ownership dips in part because we can just call up an autonomous car whenever we need it, in whatever configuration that we need. So the new urban infrastructure, I think, in the future actually becomes creating very human cities. Because that gives us the opportunity, if we've got new ways of working, if we've got new ways of shopping, if we've got new ways of moving around, it allows us to really do something quite radical. It allows us to actually reintroduce community to the middle of our major conurbations and cities.